was extremely distressed and sat crying under that old banyan tree. They say men don't cry, but I was crying there because there was no one around to see me. Today my mother had said to me, "If you can't bring home any money, then take your younger sisters and brothers and leave this house." After crying to the point of exhaustion, I raised both hands to the sky and prayed to Allah. I begged him for help, and then, to my shock, a golden necklace fell into my hands. I was stunned. Where did this come from? It felt as if it had fallen from the sky, but all I saw above was the ancient tree. So where had the necklace come from? I was still trying to understand this when I suddenly felt a hand on my shoulder. As I turned around, my heart nearly stopped. My name is Salim, and I was born in a small village. I grew up there, surrounded by poverty that was etched into the very walls of our home. After our father passed away, being the eldest son, I tried my best to become the protector of my mother and siblings. Though I failed, I had 3 younger sisters and 2 brothers whose innocent faces bore the harsh lines of hunger, lines that should have come with age, but had arrived far too soon. I had no degree, no skill, no connections, no support, only my 2 hands to labor with, and a tired body that collapsed onto the ground each evening. As long as there were a few coins left from better days, we managed. But then, the utensils were sold, then the furniture. And finally, we had nothing, not even food. Then came a time when for 4 straight days I found no labor work. Every day I stood at the town square, hoping someone would hire me, but I returned empty-handed each time. On the 4th evening when I came home, I saw my mother's eyes wet and my siblings trembling from hunger. They all asked me the same question. "Did you bring any food?" But I had nothing, empty pockets and a heavy heart. I quietly slipped away from home and walked toward the forest behind our house. The same forest where we used to play as children. But now, it looked deserted, terrifying. The trees were tangled with wild creepers, and in the darkness their branches swayed like ghosts. At the heart of the forest stood an enormous banyan tree, as if it had stood there for centuries. I sat beneath it and broke down completely. Maybe even the sky doesn't watch a man cry, but that night tears poured freely from my eyes. I raised my hands toward the heavens and cried, "Lord, please pull me out of this test. I have never asked you for anything, but tonight I beg you. The hunger of my siblings is a torment I cannot bear." Just as I finished speaking, something suddenly landed in my palm. Startled, I looked down. It was a necklace, a woman's necklace, dusty and old-looking. I brushed the dirt away and saw that it was pure gold. I was stunned. How did a gold necklace fall from the tree into my hands? How did that necklace fall? And even if something was there, how did it fall straight into my hand? The ground was completely flat, and there was nothing on the branches above. At first I felt maybe this was the work of some black magic. Maybe someone had buried a talisman or enchanted object under the tree. But then I thought, if it was black magic, why did it come to me? My heart said it was divine help from God. But my mind whispered, there is a secret behind this. I clutched the necklace tightly in my fist and ran back home. But I didn't tell anyone. That very night I boarded the last bus to the city. The whole journey I kept wondering, how did that necklace appear? I had been to that forest many times before, even slept there, but never found anything. Many elderly people used to come and pray beneath that tree, but no one ever mentioned a golden necklace. No one in our village was rich enough to hang gold on a tree. Still, I reached the city and went straight to a jeweler's shop. He looked at the necklace and said, "It's of good weight." I told him, "It belonged to my grandmother. I want to sell it." Without asking many questions, he handed me the money, and when he placed that thick bundle of notes in my hands, my eyes blurred. I had never even dreamed of seeing so much money. Gathered the cash and went to the city market, bought clothes for my siblings, food for the house, and medicine for my mother. Then I went home and lied. Told them I got a job with a contractor who also provides food and shelter. For 2 months, We lived off that money. My mother was happy. My brothers and sisters were at peace. But my own heart was restless. Every night I returned to that tree. I would sit beneath it, thank God, and pray. Sometimes I would wonder, what if I hadn't found that necklace? Would I have committed a sin? Would I have ended my life? Would my siblings have died of hunger? Slowly, a strange thought began to take root in my mind. Maybe that tree isn't an ordinary tree. Maybe whatever you ask for beneath it comes true. One night, as I sat under the tree and prayed, I suddenly heard someone laughing behind me. Startled, I turned around, but no one was there. The laugh was soft, like a woman giggling gently. I got scared and ran home. The next day, I went back again, but everything was normal. The tree looked the same. The air was still, silence everywhere. After that, I went there every night. But nothing happened. Only silence. Only loneliness. Yet that place brought peace to my soul, as if that tree was the doorway where my prayers were heard. Then one night, when I arrived there as usual, the branches of the tree began swaying without any wind, and the ground beneath it began to stir. The ground began to tremble slightly, as if something was buried beneath it and was trying to rise. I got scared, but my curiosity only deepened. I returned home, but I couldn't sleep all night. The next night, I went again and saw a figure standing in the shade of the tree, a silhouette wrapped in white, shaped like a woman. I rubbed my eyes in disbelief. That night, I truly felt fear for the first time. My tongue trembled while praying. I became convinced that something, a spirit, a presence, lived with that tree. But still, I kept returning every night. Sometimes I prayed. Sometimes I just sat in silence, with my eyes closed. It was as if the air around that tree had some effect on me, as if some invisible motherly presence wrapped around me and made me feel safe. One day, as always, I sat under the banyan tree. The sun was setting, birds were flying back to their nests, and the atmosphere was wrapped in a mysterious silence. Suddenly, an old man passed by in front of me. He looked around 80 years old, with a long white beard, walking slowly with the help of a cane. When his eyes met mine, he looked both scared and surprised. But there was also compassion in his gaze. He shouted, "Get up! What are you doing here? Who gave you permission to sit under this tree?" I panicked. I said, "Baba Ji, I sit here every day. I just pray. It gives me peace." Hearing this, his face turned even paler. He asked, "Has anything ever happened to you while sitting here?" Startled, I lied, "No, Baba Ji, nothing at all. I just sit and leave." Then he said, "Son, you don't know what kind of tree this is. You can't even imagine the secrets it holds. This tree has witnessed kings, disasters, and ancient voices, on all trapped in its branches." I asked in wonder, "Babaji, what is so special about this tree that you're so afraid of it?" He replied softly, "This tree is older than this village. Even before this land had homes, this tree stood here. People say it's the witness to sorrows that never ended, wounds that time only deepened." He paused, as if trying to unburden a heavy weight from his heart. Then he said, "Let me tell you a story, one that my grandfather once told me. It's an old tale passed from elder to elder, but no one tells it anymore. Maybe because people no longer believe in stories. It was about a woman. She lived in this village, a very poor woman. Her husband had died not long before. She was left alone with 5 children. No support, no work, and nothing to eat. Her children cried all day in hunger, and that mother, she silently watched their pain. There came a day when 3 days had passed. Not a grain of food remained in the house. The woman spent the whole day watching her children cry from hunger. At night, she laid them under the sacred banyan tree, hoping that maybe the cool night breeze would lull them to sleep, but they kept crying. And then, in the last hours of the night, when the starlight had faded and the world was fast asleep, that woman made a heartbreaking decision. She looked at her children's tear-stained faces and blamed herself for not being able to feed them, not even a single morsel. One by one, she took each child in her arms and silenced their cries forever. And finally, she ended her own life under that very tree. It is said that ever since then, a mysterious spirit lives under the tree. The woman, now a soul, helps those who are suffering from hunger and helplessness, just like she once did. She doesn't let any hungry soul sleep there. She fills the hands of those who cry with true desperation. Since then, many people have claimed that they prayed under that tree and their lives changed shortly after. Some say they saw a woman in white in their dreams who kissed their foreheads and said, "Son, you will never go hungry again." Others claim they found gold or silver under the tree. Some were mysteriously given food supplies. But one thing was common in all these stories. The help came only when the person was crying in utter hopelessness under the tree. When the old man finished telling me this story, a chill ran through my body. I remembered that night when I had cried there too, and how a golden necklace had fallen into my hands. I didn't tell Babaji everything, but I now knew for sure the spirit lives in that tree. But one day, when I went there again, I saw a girl already sitting under the tree. I froze for a moment because I had no money left. I was broke, hungry, and heavy-hearted, so I thought maybe I should ask that girl for help, because when a man is completely hopeless, he starts seeking hope from anyone. But when I looked at her properly, I was stunned. It was as if I was under some spell. She was the most beautiful girl I had ever seen. She was dressed entirely in white.
The girl's white dress fluttered gently in the breeze. Her lips were painted a deep red, and her hair was so long and thick it fell well past her waist. There was a strange glow on her face, as if she was bathed in a private light, even though the sun had already set. I gathered courage and asked, "Have you come here to ask for something too?" She turned to me and smiled. Her smile carried a strange peace, like the kind of motherly comfort that washes away centuries of exhaustion in a moment. She said softly, "No, I don't need to ask for anything. I already have everything." Then she looked at me for a few seconds and gently asked, "What are you here for?" Hesitantly, I said, "I came to ask for a little money. I haven't eaten today." She listened quietly, and suddenly, she laughed. But it wasn't a mocking laugh. It was filled with some deep mystery. She just said, "I should go now," and walked behind the tree. But when I followed her to the other side, she had vanished. I was stunned. The ground slipped from under my feet. My heart was pounding. Where could she have gone so fast? There was no path behind the tree. I stood there in shock, and then I noticed something. Right where she had been sitting, there were some notes lying on the ground. I walked over, bent down, and picked them up. When I counted them, there were about 70-80 rupees. My hands trembled. My eyes widened in disbelief. A chill ran down my spine. Could she be that woman, the soul connected to the tree? But the story spoke of a middle-aged woman, a mother of 5 children. And this was a young, stunningly beautiful girl, almost like a fairy. I was torn with confusion. My heart was pounding with fear, but the money's glow was too strong to resist. I picked them up and quickly left the place. In my heart, I had both fear and gratitude. God had helped me. But what had really happened? I never spoke of that incident to anyone. I solved many of my problems with that money. But I made a decision in my heart. No matter how bad things got, I would never go back to that tree, because whoever she was, if she truly was a spirit, I had no idea what she wanted from me. But one thing I knew for sure, she was incredibly beautiful. and her eyes held a secret that could never be spoken aloud. I never went back to the tree again. I never told anyone that secret, the one I buried deep within my heart. Even after the money ran out, I kept myself from going there for a whole week. Each day was a battle between fear and desperation. Sometimes I told myself she was just a kind girl. Other times I warned myself, if she really was a spirit, what if she hurt me next time? Then one day, my helplessness grew so much that I had no choice left but to go to her. My stomach was empty, my clothes were torn, and my shoes had become as hard as the stones at a crossroads. I wandered the streets all day without eating a single bite, but no one gave me anything. As the sun began to set, my steps automatically moved toward that tree. My heart was full of fears, my legs felt heavy, but I couldn't stop. It was as if something inside me was pulling me there. When I reached, the last rays of sunlight had vanished. Sadness and silence ruled all around. I sat under the tree, eyes filled with tears and heart aching with pain. I bent down to the ground and slowly began to cry. Tears flowed from my eyes, prayers flowed from my heart, and I kept wishing for a miracle, hoping that someone would hear my plea. Suddenly, something fell into my hand. Startled, I looked and saw two beautiful gold bangles. I was shocked. A wave of happiness surged through me, but with that happiness came an unknown fear, as if some unseen presence had touched me. I quickly put the bangles in my pocket and tried to leave, but as soon as I turned, someone placed a hand on my shoulder. My whole body trembled. I slowly turned and saw her standing in front of me, the same girl, in the same white clothes, red lipstick, long hair, and that same magical smile. I panicked. My voice trembled and I screamed, You died. You're the same woman. The poor woman who killed her own children. I swear I remember. She started laughing, but it wasn't a mocking or hateful laugh. It was gentle, like she was smiling at a child. She softly said, No, I'm not a spirit. I haven't died. And I'm not the woman whose story you heard. I am a Jinnzadi, a being bound to this tree. I am under a sentence, a punishment, which lasts for a number of years. When it ends, I'll be free. I can't harm you. I liked you, and that's why I helped you. I couldn't bear to see you hungry. I stared at her in shock. She was still, smiling. There was a strange light in her eyes, as if she belonged to another world. I wanted to say something, but my voice was gone. She continued speaking. Allah has made me a source of help for you. As long as you need me, I'll be here to help you. Just come see me every day and talk to me. I like your words. She kept talking, and I kept listening silently. My heart still held fear, but there was also a strange peace in her voice, like she was the cure for my pain. I slowly nodded my head. Then she laughed again. Maybe my frightened expression made her laugh. I was still hesitant, but there was a kind of warmth in her presence that wouldn't let me leave. Once again, she softly said, Don't be afraid. I don't want to harm you. I just want you to come every day and talk to me. I like listening to you, and the honesty on your face. I truly admire it. For 2 days, I couldn't gather the courage. Every time I tried to walk toward the tree, my heartbeat would race and sweat would drip from my forehead. At night, I'd close my eyes and her smile would appear. And when I'd open them, darkness would surround me. But on the 3rd day, I finally took control of myself. I told my heart, if she wanted to harm me, she would have done so already. Silently, I made up my mind and walked toward the tree. When I reached, she was already there, like she had been waiting for me. She smiled at me and said the same thing that had begun to comfort my heart. No one else can see me except you. I exist only for you. From that day on, going there became a habit. Every day I would go sit under the tree, and she would come. We would sit together and talk. Sometimes I'd share memories of my childhood, and sometimes she'd speak about her world, a world beyond this one. But every time, she would make me promise not to tell anyone about her. She said, "If anyone finds out, this blessing may be taken from you." Gradually, my fear disappeared. With her, I began to feel safe. She didn't seem like an enemy anymore. Rather, she was like a true friend, someone who understood my pain, someone who helped me without being asked. Every month, she would give me money, and my household began to improve. My mother was happy. Food was better, clothes were cleaner, and life felt easier. But she also worried about me. Why did I sit under that tree every single day? The villagers started noticing too. At first, they ignored it, thinking I was just a strange young man. But as my visits became a routine, people began to talk. One day in the market, someone said, "Salim has gone mad. He sits under that tree all day and talks to himself. Maybe he's possessed by a jinn." And slowly, the rumors spread through the entire village. Wherever I went, people looked at me with pity. Some whispered behind my back, others mocked me, and some even scared their children, saying, "If you misbehave, you'll end up mad like Salim." That's what people started saying to scare their children. My mother's condition began to worsen day by day. She would cry when she saw me, heartbroken that the villagers now believed her son had gone mad. I tried many times to tell her the truth, but every time my voice would stop. Because in my heart, her words echoed, "Don't tell anyone, I'm helping you." And I had made her a promise, one I never broke, I know. Longer cared what the villagers said. All I wanted was peace of heart, and I found that under the tree. With her, we would sit and talk. She would laugh, and slowly, I started to laugh too. The sadness on my face began to fade. But to the villagers, I was still mad. Time passed. A year went by. Now it's been 2 years. I still go to that tree every single day. She still gives me money every month, and sometimes even gold jewelry. My life has become much better. But in the village, no one wants to marry me. They all believe I've fallen in love with a Jinn woman. No one believes that. She's not my enemy. She's my savior, my friend. She showed me kindness in a time of desperation. Maybe Allah, in His mercy, sent her for me when He saw my poverty and helplessness. Because of her, my home is no longer broken. My parents don't sleep hungry anymore. But I am alone. No one stands with me. No one trusts me. I've sacrificed everything for someone who might not even belong to this world, but who is closer to my heart than anyone else ever was. Now I live in this loneliness, and I know this will continue until her punishment ends. Maybe one day she will be completely free and leave me forever. But until then, as long as she exists, I exist. And as long as I exist, I will go to that tree for her, because she is now my life, even if in the eyes of the village, I am just a madman.